button. We're about
Well,
to go live.
we
are live. Hello. Yes, we are live right now. I told you we only had a minute till I go live. Okay, well, hello, everybody. I am Annette The Peacemaker, and we are live on the Yang Gang Report on Facebook. And then I'm also live on YouTube. My channel is called Annette The Peacemaker. And today we are going to talk about, I'm going to introduce my guest here in just a second. But first I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about. So today we're going to talk about how police respond to people in mental health crisis. Okay. And excuse me. And what that looks like and what changes need to be made and how we can make those changes happen. So with that, I'm going to introduce my friend. This is my dear, dear friend, Calleen. And I love how she spelled it phonetically for us because people botch her name all the time. So I'm happy that you did that. So this is my dear friend, Calleen. We have been friends for approximately 10 years, I think. I met Calleen on the same night that I met my husband. She was in the place where I met my husband, and we met like that same time. So that's how long we've known each other. And we love each other very much, and we live in 2 different states now. So this is new for Calleen. I don't know that you've ever done a live stream like this. Have you ever done anything like this before?
Once, a long time ago, but you know, it's on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay.
Back when I was involved with the Sanders campaign.
Okay, right. All right. So, all right. So we're going to just start out basically by talking about Calleen has a very compelling story that she is going to share with us about a mental health crisis that she experienced and how she was treated during that time, how the police treated her, and just how it all went down. And I was there for this mental health crisis. Like I wasn't there during the police interaction, but I was there when it all went down. I would have lost my dad. I would have been in jail with you then, you know? So, oh man, they should be glad I was not there. Because protective sister bear would have come out to play. So, and then while we're talking, like basically we're just going to have a conversation. Like I know this story, but she's going to tell this story to you. And then I'm going to interject now and again. And because I've got my own personal stories that aren't as recent, but of how my experiences interacting with police during trauma, how that went down for me when I was a little girl, and the things that I witnessed and stuff like that, and how that makes me feel today, because it has carried over all these decades later, and I still have those same feelings and stuff like that. So, all right. So without further ado, Calleen, when you are ready,
oh gosh,
tell us your story.
Are there people here? Is it just you and I still?
There's no one else in the stream with us, but up in my top left corner, it says that we have 4 or 5 people, about 5 people watching. While you're talking, I'm going to be sharing this stream in other Yang Gang related groups.
Will you share them on my pages too? Are you
yes.
Are you following all the, like, the Team Rev? I've got, 3 or 4 people.
Yes.
Are you following all the, like, the Team Rev? I've got, 3 or 4 people. Are you following all the, like, the Team Rev? I've got, 3 or 4 people. Are you following all the, like, the Team Rev? I've got, 3 or 4 people. Are you following all the, like, the Team Rev? I've got, 3 or 4 people. Are you following all the, like, the Team Rev? I've got, 3 or 4 people. Are you following all the, like, the Team Rev? I've got, 3 or 4 people. Are you following all the, like, the Team Rev? I've got, 3 or 4 people. Are you following all the, like, the Team Rev? I've got, 3 or 4 people. Are you following all the, like, the Team Rev? I've got, 3 or 4 people. Are you following all the, like, the Team
Mm-hmm.
combined. There's several pages. There's a few thousand followers, but it's several different groups. They all started as Bernie groups, with the exception of a couple. Those are specifically not political
Yeah.
at all. But
Actually, why don't you start?
especially,
First of all, tell me the pages that you want me to share on, and then I think that we could start with a little bit of background leading up to the event. Okay, so I think you should start with that background.
all right. Well, let me really. Oh, okay. Let me pull this up on here, and I'll give you the actual list of pages really quick. So I'll send it to you, so you can do that while I'm talking. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Wonderful.
All right, guys. I'm not. This isn't. Yeah.
And she's on her
I'm
phone.
so
Everybody,
not tech
keep in
savvy.
mind.
It's really fun. I'm a little
We really
tech
should have
resistant these
practiced.
days. I know. I'm sorry.
We should have practiced.
I promise it'll be worth the wait. I have a really inappropriate at times sense of humor, but my sense of humor is the only thing that's honestly kept me alive this long. So, yeah. But it is a little weird, and I can be a bit sarcastic, and I'll try to keep that to a minimum if I can. But I've been called a smartass since childhood, so it is what it is. Okay, let me find this list. There we go. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pages.
Good Lord, girl.
I'm going to screenshot it and send it to you.
Okay. Oh,
You talk to folks. Ask everyone how they're doing. How's everybody doing? What's the weather like? Anyone else hungover? Oh my God.
I see that our good friend Ariel, who has a channel, Revolutionary Thinking, on YouTube.
Ooh.
Everybody should go. Yes, you would probably very much like Ariel and what he has to say. I think that you would. His nickname is Ariel the Avalanche. So
you know what? I think we might be in some other groups together online. Actually, the name's really familiar. Yeah. Is he into like any sort of esoteric stuff?
I don't really know.
Is he online? Ask him. I don't know. The name's really familiar though. Okay, I'm gonna send
Ariel, are you there? We've had Ariel on our show on Yang Gang Report many times.
Yeah.
So, yep. Okay, I see the list.
All right.
Sorry. So tell us your background, and let's get it started. And
oh boy. Okay. Well, it all started when no, just kidding. Okay. When I was born, man. Okay. I am a survivor of childhood trauma, multiple sexual assaults, including an actual abduction, and going through testifying and getting re-victimized, essentially on the victim stand, having to walk within inches of the man that tried to kill me, essentially. Whether, I don't know if he was intentionally trying to, but he almost did. He bashed my head into a brick wall so hard. So, the way I was treated by the San Ysidro, California, the first responders there, and also why I decided to later, after several years of intense therapy, why I decided to become a rape victim advocate with the Multnomah County DA's office over in Portland. I'm originally from Oregon. Been called to Montana my whole life, and moved here with my ex-husband about 16 years ago. He and I split after about 4 years, and by then I was already completely in love with the magic of Missoula that is disappearing as the big money and special interests are moving in the people that made Missoula so magical can't afford to live here and hang out like they used to, and it's just a different vibe altogether, you know. But I still very much love Big Sky Country. But I have been horribly mistreated while I've been here, and I can share some comparisons of the different agencies and around the country, from the situation in California to Oregon, and then also here in Montana, as well as a hospital that I fought to get to in Lake Chelan, Washington, because it was a specific trauma recovery center, and I have what they call complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and the difference between PTSD and CPTSD is PTSD can be from like a singular event, witnessing a violent crime. Usually it's just a singular event that would cause the trauma. And PTSD, by the way, does leave actual physical marks on our brains. It changes you at a cellular level, and that has been quantified through science. But I get a little scatterbrained. As a result, you're constantly in survivor mode, and you know you have to fight not to be a pessimist, but you're definitely a realist. But you're always planning for inevitabilities, and yeah, sure, here's what we want to do, and this is what the hope is and the goal, but you try to always also plan for what if things go wrong, and you try to plan for every little thing that could go wrong before you leave your house. And I have done that my whole life. I've been stuck in survivor mode my whole life, and I have several marks on my brain from incidents of trauma, as well as exposure to some ongoing long-term trauma through my childhood, something called sibling abuse. I have a page. I'll write a book one day. I'm working on it. But so anyhow, complex PTSD is having survived multiple traumatic events, or it's where things like Stockholm syndrome comes from, what they call trauma bonding. It's a lot of work doing the healing when you have something like this. But I recently discovered. I've had PTSD pretty much my whole life, but it got really complicated after the incident in San Diego. That was the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back, and the thing is with my kind of, I think what's affected me most, like I've healed from so much of the traumas itself, right? And we should totally do another segment just on trauma and how most addictive behaviors are rooted in childhood trauma. Anyway, but you really, when you start doing the work, you start recognizing certain patterns. Anyhow, back to the system and how it treats people in crisis. Now, looking back in my life, I'd had similar incidences. Like I had one when I was 17, but it was a alcohol-induced 17-year-old just having a hard time dealing with a whole lot of shit. And but recently in 2015, I discovered a new aspect to the type of PTSD I have that I didn't know could happen. If there's any war veterans out there, the term shell-shocked, you'll understand certain things can happen, and there's an actual disconnect. The term breaking point turns out exists for a reason. I discovered mine in 2015, apparently. And it has complicated my life immensely because I've had 3 separate incidents of what they call stress-induced psychosis. And when there's a certain combination of things, and I won't go into detail now, Annette knows, but when you don't feel safe in your life, in your home environments especially, that combined with other outside stressors in the world, apparently, it accumulates, and you literally disconnect from reality. And it's happened to me 3 times now. Twice here in Montana, I ended up in handcuffs. I wasn't violent per se, but I was in a primal state, what they call, you just kind of go primal. You don't see badges, you don't see uniforms. If you're touched, especially with everything from my past, if I'm touched and I don't want to be touched, something's not going to go well for a few minutes. Like and it's so important that we insist, like, it no longer be voluntary, because right now it largely is voluntary among the different police agencies. So important that it is mandatory that they take, at the very minimum, sensitivity training. But I come from Portland, an area, this is where I want to discuss the different agencies and how they can work together and learn from one another, and try to, if you want to find places that are doing a great job with their citizens, find out, how you can do the same for yours, right? So, so the first time, I don't know, do you have any questions? Like, I feel there's so much, so I'm trying to stay as focused as possible, which is not always easy. I have, oh, look, a squirrel.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I have been present for 2 of these events where, and I can speak to as an outside observer, what happened, like what I saw happening. And so she went into like this extreme state of like stress, and like the events leading up to it were, she had all these big stressors just piling on her. And then it was almost like a switch was flipped, and I can't describe it any other way than it was like something else took over her. She wasn't her. She wasn't, you weren't you, and
the ego
it was
went
like,
away and the id took over completely.
Yeah. It was almost like you were like possessed or having like a split personality episode or something like that,
That's why they call it a disassociative. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like there was a time where I thought that you knew who I was, but then there was another time where I wasn't sure if you knew who I was, and it was
people,
terrifying.
Remember? It was absolutely how I describe it for me as I was experiencing it. It's like your consciousness is, you're hogtied and thrown in the backseat of your own car while someone or something else drives, and you're cognizant. You see, you're it's like you're seeing someone else controlling. It is like being possessed, but I think truly it was the id, and I don't think it was anything necessarily. Although it does put you in a weakened state and you can be susceptible to other energies, but I think my spirit had just had enough, and just was crying out, enough is enough is enough. And
hold on.
It took over.
Yeah. And so because of that, like, you weren't really in control of your behavior or your actions or whatever. Like, this other thing took over. And so like, we as the outsiders who were trying to help you, like, oh, hold on a minute. Where's that noise coming from?
It's probably me. I was listening to Kaimani Marley. It's a really good song.
Oh,
Let's see if I can pause it.
okay. So, like, I was in close contact with your mother and with your daughter's father, and even like one outside friend that I had never met before, but like she was another friend. And so we were all like trying really hard to figure out how to help you, but like, this was something that we had never seen before. Like,
And
none
I
of us had ever seen it before.
It. Yeah, so yeah.
Right.
It was new
so
for all of us.
So you couldn't tell us how to help you, and we couldn't figure out how to help you. And then
the people charged with knowing how to and responding to these sorts of things, some did okay, but some definitely did not. And
Right.
there are those who are absolutely in positions of authority that do not belong there. They need to have these people doing regular mental health tune-ups. They are seeing the darkest sides of humanity. They need to require, at the very least, for these folks, I'm sorry, you're going to hate me for saying it, you need quarterly mental health tune-ups at the very least, because you can't see so much darkness and not be affected. That is why I have the letters that I have in my alphabet soup.
Right.
This is a chemical, everything. Yeah. So
then what happened was that we were all terrified. We all felt helpless, and the mental health people weren't being helpful. And so we were afraid that you would hurt yourself or whatever, or get hurt. Yes, either get hurt. That's
my inhibitions. I didn't have. I was pretty uninhibited. Not like people are always going to go right to this libido. Just otherwise, like I said, my spirit was running wild, and this is not a safe world for spirits running loose, especially in flesh form. So, you need the ego.
So then the next thing that happened was that the police were called.
Okay,
I felt like
I'm a card holder, you guys, and I'm shaking a little and trying to calm myself.
Yeah,
so
girl.
I'm going to use my red, white, and blue, brand new, bought it for this weekend, red, white, and blue piece that I just bought. I'm breaking it in for today's episode, and I'm wearing a very special bicentennial necklace in honor of
your name block is blocking the view of your necklace, though.
Oh,
on the screen. Yep.
Yeah, I'll show you guys. I've had this. My mom and dad got this back in 1976.
Nice. All right. So then the police were called. And I was very scared during that time. I talked with your partner about that. Yeah, so I talked
it at me.
Yeah, so I talked to your partner about it before it happened, and I wanted, of course, to go to your house and be there for it. And he's like, please don't, because I don't think it's going to go well. I don't think so at all. And
I so wish you had been there.
You could get hurt. Me too, man. Me too.
even just as a witness, if nothing else, not even to be involved, just as a witness to all of it. It's so important for us to stand witness to injustice when you see it.
Yes. And the reason that so many changes are happening now is because everybody is filming it. All the Karens out there that are just losing their dang minds, people are filming it.
But of all these people filming it, which ones are actually, like, sure, have one or two film it. The rest of you get on the phone, man. You call 911,
right.
You call the media outlets, you fucking call your senators. You see something going down, you designate someone to document it. You keep them safe while they document it. And you raise holy hell in the name of justice.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I've just enough. My spirit, she wants to come out. And I'm like, no. Back down you go. Back down you go.
So do you remember what happened when the police came?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I was hogtied in the backseat of my car, but I was still watching what was happening while she was driving. So,
right.
But I wasn't in control of my faculties. I actually was able to, when she wanted to fight, I was able to, with, like, kind of hold her back. There was a couple times where she did really, in the hospital, and just when I wasn't being treated properly, and she wanted to fight back, and I had to say, inside screaming, no. I could get hurt. I could hurt somebody else. Like, no. I have actual training. I don't want to hurt people. And that's important. Like, the people who know me know that I do have some training, and that if I wanted to cause harm, if I actually consciously wanted to cause harm, then I could have, but I didn't. But I was still treated. We'll get to that. I want to try to stick to the chronological happenings of all this. So, in 2015, when it first happened, and it all started after, like I said, after I got involved with the Sanders campaign, and I was targeted for my work within the campaign. Anyhow, pretty disappointed with how that was handled. Or not handled, rather. I was one of the first organizers here in Montecky for the Sanders campaign. I remember, we'll talk about that another time too. But anyway, precursors, where some of the stress was coming from. And there are professional agitators, let me tell you guys. There are.
Tangent.
So, so 2015, first time. None of us knew what was happening, including me. Wasn't on drugs, wasn't drinking, I wasn't eating, I was barely drinking water. I had just gone completely in a primal state. And was behaving strangely, to say the least. And it didn't get bad until others started messing with me. And then it got really complicated. There were some issues with a neighbor. Remember the guy that stalked us right up until we moved where we're at now? So.
Yep. So at the beginning, at the early stages of this sort of transition that happens to you, that I've witnessed twice, in the earliest stages, you're like sort of like this, like all loving, ethereal, like Earth Mother kind of. I mean, you just exude this like glowing love, and it's like warm and infectious, and so it's not necessarily a negative thing when it first starts, you know.
Oh no, it was
Like,
all encompassing, just a complete feeling of love, like a kind of a high, but not like bipolar kind of, you know, like not manic like that.
yeah,
It felt very spiritual in nature and very, very much like definite divine feminine. And I don't hide the fact that I do believe in a divine mother as well as a divine father. So anyhow, I'm honest. I believe there's truths and breadcrumbs left for us everywhere. So, yeah, it was very much loving and like this connection to something more, which made it really harder to stay grounded when you're feeling such a spiritual connection. But anyhow, like I said, she took over and she's indignant. You know, my spirit is a fighter. I have a fighting spirit. Anyone who knows me will probably confirm that much. But always, I try to always use those skills for good. You know, I always wanted to be an attorney. I just couldn't afford to finish. Constitutional law, baby. So, where was I? Stuff going
well,
on.
we were on
My first run-in with
spiritual. Yes.
Yeah, sorry guys. I do that sometimes. Bring me back.
That's okay.
Is there anyone watching?
12 people.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Okay. So anyhow, I was not myself, not I guess I'm definitely comfortable with saying on vacation from reality. The neighbor who had there was an incident between him and my daughter's father, and he proceeded to decide that extended to me and my daughter as well by proxy. And so he was very much enjoying my vacation from reality, and instigated an incident, and police were called, and because I felt threatened, and he threatened my family. And you don't threaten my family. And like I said, I was already just not okay. Anyhow, police were called, and the Missoula City Police Department does have people trained in crisis, mental health crisis interventions. All police agencies, first responders, should have at least one on duty at all times. And we need to find a way to make that happen.
Agreed.
I've seen it in action, guys. We can do it. There's good cops out there, but we need to help them be better cops because they're scared too.
Right.
I've been privy to conversations and information, sources who, if our government won't protect them as an ordained minister, I will. And I can't be compelled to testify because they trusted me. And they need to be able to trust somebody, because we can't trust the government right now.
But okay, so the Missoula City Police have a mental health professional or someone trained.
Yes, a lovely,
okay.
yes.
They
One
do,
officer,
however,
she was amazing. She was wonderful. They got me to the hospital, you know, like there were, I think that during that period of time, there were a couple of different hospital stays. Like they were trying to figure out what was wrong. They did end up doing a brain scan and found a giant cyst in my brain, but anyhow,
your mommy's watching.
they're anxious to throw diagnoses. Hi, mommy. I love you. Thank you for being here. Shit. Damn it.
You're all right.
Where you at? Where you at, Annette?
I'm right here.
Okay.
You're fine.
Talk.
Okay, talk.
Oh,
okay, so I can tell you. Okay, so she, instead of the Missoula City Police being called, who possibly could have responded
Wait,
better.
that's 2017. So these are different incidents.
Oh.
2015, the Missoula City Police Department, because they did have some crisis intervention workers available, and I was known to some in the community because of my activism. So, you know, they did well, and they should be so proud of that young lady. I can't remember her name. Her tall, blonde officer. Thank you for treating me with dignity and respect. We all deserve it. Everyone out there. Unless we prove otherwise.
Yep.
So once I ended up within the county corrections, that's where things started getting abusive, and where we will talk about mistreatment. And I chose not to file a lawsuit. I did actually. Thing about being in a small community is everyone knows each other, and certain fights some attorneys just might not be willing to take on, because it could be a hell of a fight, and some of them just aren't up to the task. And I ran into a few of those throughout this process. So I'm reduced to sharing my experiences with my neighbors in the community. So not reduced, actually. You guys, look at this medallion, yo. What's up? When I got into the county corrections department, and I'm gonna get upset, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to stay calm. My therapist says I have new trauma. I've worked through so much of the personal trauma that has happened in my life, but I have new trauma as a result of how I was treated by those in positions of authority who've been trusted to care for some of the most vulnerable among us. And I have some feelings about that. So I'm gonna try to stay cool.
You're doing great.
So once I was in custody of the sheriff's department, the county, because here in Missoula County, the city and county, they share facilities and stuff. So There's cameras everywhere. And I asked for, of course, they're not going to give you proof of their wrongdoings, right? And they're going to investigate themselves and find themselves, you know, within their rights. When there's wrongdoings within their own rights. I was stripped naked in front of God and everybody in that facility. They ripped my jewelry off of me, broke one bracelet that was made by my grandfather. Anyway, stripped naked by men at the Missoula County Corrections Center. Put in a solitary cell because they had me on suicide watch. I wasn't suicidal. But I understand to a degree, you know. I understand to a degree. But while I was in that cell, fighting my way back to reality, trying so hard to understand what was happening to me, they have intercoms in these rooms. You don't have a toilet or a sink. You have a glorified hole in the ground to squat over. And heaven help you if you're thirsty. If you're lucky, they'll flush for you. Because you don't get to flush yourself either. There's intercoms and camera. And I don't know how anyone can sleep in there. Even lights out, it's still bright. Sleep deprivation will mess with somebody, I tell you what. But at least one person on the other side of the intercom wearing a uniform and a badge. I don't know the name. It was faceless. And I'm trying to understand, where am I? What's happening? And I asked. Oh, we're not in Missoula. We're not even on Earth. Coming back at me through that intercom. And some laughing, and the purple walrus has a toothache. What should we do? Coming at me through that intercom. I was eventually transferred to the state hospital. A bill was passed some time ago, I was told by a state volunteer advocate for patients at the state level. A bill was passed, something called Transportation with Dignity. It's about 100 miles, 90 to 100 miles from Missoula to the state hospital. God help you if you got to pee along the way. And you are not transferred with dignity. Barely with any sort of respect. Although one lady sheriff was lovely. And on my way back in to a court date, stopped and bought me lunch. But once I was able to get sleep and some actual little bits of help, because we'll talk about what's happening at the state hospital later. And there's people willing to testify to Congress about what's happening at the state level. But they're scared too. We celebrated 4th of July yesterday, yo. And I didn't feel much like celebrating.
I didn't celebrate. It was just another Saturday.
We are so broken. and so many
That's the word I
broken
was gonna
people
say.
breaking other people. But these broken people are finding their ways into positions of authority in places they should not be. Sorry. So I think that we should, here in Montana, look into this bill, Transportation with Dignity, among other things. The criminalization of the mentally ill. The mistreatment. The dehumanization. The removal of civil and human rights. They know they can do it, so they do it. Do you understand me, Governor Bullock, Gianforte, Daines, Tester? I have tried reaching out to you in various ways because doing it through the proper channels hasn't worked. I hope you can hear me now. And I will testify to Congress too. And there are others I witnessed. I witnessed male on female violence at the state hospital because it's co-ed, don't you know? That's a grand idea. I needed a hospital, an actual medical doctor while I was at the state facility. I lost 7 pounds in one day. It's on the record. A nurse and a doctor wanted to help me, but they were scared. And I was denied medical service, actual medical service while I was there. So, I met a cousin who worked there, another Collver. Can't remember her first name. She was a feisty spirit. And apparently we're all tall. She was tall too. Collver clan, big. Bunch of us. Anyhow, and because of my own family's brokenness and intergenerational trauma and the need to break cycles at so many levels within our own homes and definitely within our governmental systems, we need to be auditing these top to bottom and everywhere in between.
Right.
Anyhow,
how long were you at that facility that time?
There were a few visits while we were trying to figure out what was happening, and it seemed like, gosh, I want to say all told there were several weeks in and out that summer. It was late summer, early fall. Actually,
were you allowed visitors?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know where you were. Like, there was a point that first time I didn't know where you were. Like,
well, the time in 2017 with the actual altercation with the officer, and the charge of assault on a police officer, that's another. See, the story keeps getting interesting, guys. Sorry, I keep taking detours, but and I have video of that, and I'm gonna bite my tongue just because.
All right, we'll finish.
I want to focus my indignation properly. My goal is not to set it all on fire. My goal is to see the systemic changes that need to take place and not take no for an answer, not asking anymore. We've been asking. And I'm not going to watch this country or this world burn without fighting. I made a promise to that baby bump before I chose to bring her into this world when I could have died. I made her a promise to fight so she won't have to.
Here's what your
And
mom
to not
says,
let her
okay?
have the memories I have.
Here, I'm going to put it up on the screen. It's big. It's going to block us out, okay? Hold on. Your mom says, honey, this is breaking my heart having to bring all this up again, but it could help others and get things brought out so they will finally realize what's going on. The police need to be trained on how to notice mental illness and not a bad person. It helped me in Portland when I had some of my residents who needed help this way. The police that had this training were great. Yes, and Ariel says, exactly, not run it to
Ariel,
the ground route.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
We need a fix it. We need a fix it route.
And that's my goal with my activism. It's all solution based. Like, we can point out all the problems. One thing, part of my own personal healing journey that was the most intense, that's gotten me this far before the new trauma that I'm working through, was learning to let go of the anger and the rage and the resentment. But I have not given up the indignation and my desire and drive to stop it somehow. And there are models all over this country and all over this world that work. So we as a community need to seek these out. The Montana State Constitution, I had an opportunity to work with one of the gentlemen who wrote the preamble to it. I don't have it handy, darn it, another time. Bob, I don't know if he's still with us or not, but he's a veteran and he helped write it. And the Montana State Constitution has been used and quoted in other countries' own democracies as they've been constructing their own democracies and things like that. Our state constitution has been quoted by other communities elsewhere. Why can't we find solutions that are working for other places in other communities here in America, but also don't be so narrow-minded. There's stuff working for folks all over the world. Anyway, I'll get off that soapbox, but
no, you're right though. You're absolutely right.
We are all in this together, but we're counting on the wrong people who've never. They are so out of touch with the rest of us. They haven't a clue as to what our real needs are. They've special interest groups. You guys know what a kleptocracy is, right? Stolen democracy. Or a kakistocracy. I have trouble with this one. Someone out there help me. Kakistocracy. I have it on my page. Look at my look at one of my pages. The Revolution page. But that is basically a government being ruled by the very worst among us. By and I'm not saying they all started out that way, but you know what they say about the love of money, right? But I mean, we've got people in positions of power. They're not going to let go without a fight. Thing is, they want it to get violent, so we got to keep it peaceful, no matter what.
Yes, I was just in a conversation earlier today with someone who is popping popcorn and just waiting for the race war to happen because they find it entertaining. And I just what? Like what?
I had to
Like
say
these
goodbye
are
to a longtime friend because of her own various forms of bigotry. But when she started in on the BLM movement, that was it. It wasn't
right.
personal anymore. You know, I could take her minimizing my spiritual beliefs, you know, and trying to quoting hers constantly. But because I have black friends, that doesn't make you not racist or bigoted.
Right.
And the All Lives Matter people, all lives can't matter until all lives fucking actually matter.
Right.
So,
because it's not even just it's not even you can talk however you want, because it's not even just black lives, it's Native lives, Latino lives, transgender. Like Dallas has like the highest rate of transgender murders or something like that in the country. It's just like appalling. Dallas, Texas. So you know, like what, all lives clearly do not matter at this time.
well, and it took a pandemic for people to be somewhat more tolerant of homelessness.
Yeah.
And the affordable housing crisis is, you know, I would love to work with the Poor People's Campaign. Boy, I would love that.
You would be good. You would be an excellent speaker. You should, girl.
I'm sitting here trying
butt in
not
the
to have
Poor
a
People's
panic
Campaign.
attack without eyeballs staring back. I don't know how that would go. I'm pretty sure I would throw up.
Yeah, don't even think about who's watching. Everybody who's watching right now are people that I know personally, and they're all good, kind, loving people. Every last one of them that is watching right now. I don't let trolls come in here. So you're in a safe place. Ariel's a good
I can
person.
handle a troll.
Your mom,
You've seen
Brian.
me do some troll playing.
I know, but there's no trolling allowed in here. It's just not going to happen.
I have a
Brian's
mixed family.
good.
You know, I have, like, I can relate to so many people out there, and to see the people that we've entrusted with our lives, essentially, to represent us, that are actually largely misrepresenting us. So frustrating. And because of, and we should talk about this on another time, but the sensationalism, you know, small town Missoula, slow news day, they will take liberties with the truth.
Well, let's set that up, you know, and we can set up another time to talk more. But like, I want to, when you are ready, I think we should move on to the second part of the story, because that gets
2017 assault with a police officer.
Yeah. Do you want me to start it?
How do y'all suppose someone who's been accused of assaulting a police officer would be treated while in custody? Mental health issues or not, male or female. Think it matters? But at least I'm white.
Yeah. But they still treated you abysmally. Oh, I'm sure. Okay. So I'll start.
And I recognize my privilege. I'm poor. I live in poverty. I'm, you know, ailing in health. You know, all these things. Like I still have privilege, and I'm going to use it.
Use it for good.
I still have my voice. And grandma's ring.
So let's set
I
up.
don't have to sell it yet.
I know. During the 2017 episode, your mom and I were both so scared you would sell your grandma's ring. You said you were gonna, and we were just like, we knew then that like something is very, very wrong. Something's very wrong. She would never do that. She is not herself.
I
Right?
was scared.
Okay. So,
I was so scared.
yeah.
It got caught on video.
So
That live PD show caught it on in Spokane.
Okay, but hold on.
Although
Hold on. I want to set the.
Yeah.
I want to set. I need to set the story up and give a little bit of my own backstory here, just a tiny little bit of 2017. So by 2017, my husband and I, had essentially moved to Arizona, and it was sort of an accidental. We meant to travel there and take a vacation there, and then a series of unfortunate events prevented us from being able to leave in a timely fashion. So I ended. What was I back for? It was either when my friend Amber died or when I was back for a cancer scan. It was one of those two things. I was back in Missoula from Arizona for either one of those two big deal events. Because like the cancer scans for me, so for those that don't know, I'm a stage 4 terminal cancer survivor. And I only had a 1 to 5% chance of surviving it. So I'm kind of like a walking miracle, if you will. And yes. Statistically speaking, on paper, I should be dead right now, but I'm not. And so after that, you know, I am currently cancer free. It's what, 4 years now, I think, cancer free. So I take my cancer scans very seriously. I like mentally prepare for them beforehand, and I practice law of attraction. So like I do all these little like mantras to, you know, like cool, calm, and cancer free and stuff like that. So so I'm back in Missoula for one of these events, and Calleen was like, she was at the very early, like kind of the earlier stages. Calleen was already in the midst of one of these episodes. And
vacation from reality.
Yeah. And
not so
so
much
she was on the early part of her vacation. And I arrived in town, and like I couldn't get her to answer my calls and stuff, and so I ended up getting in touch with her mother, and so like we are all literally like family, like we call each other's mothers and things. Anyway, I found out that she was on vacation again, and I tried to jump in even though I had all this other stuff going on. I think it was a cancer scan because I remember talking to that friend that I'm not going to name, and I ended up flipping out on her. Okay, so all of a sudden, because you and I are so close, and because I have such a solid understanding of who you are, and like I get you and I feel you, and we are definitely connected on like a pretty powerful level, I think.
Yeah,
for sure. Yep. So immediately, like all this pressure comes on me to try to help, and like I was only there for like a 4-day trip or something like that. Like Allegiant flies out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So like I flew in to have the cancer scan. That's okay, girl. Puff, pass. You're
No one
fine.
passes here. Got my puppy.
I know.
So I still need help with training.
Okay, so
I
then,
have a service
so
dog right
all of a sudden I was sort of like thrown into this crisis when I had my own like stuff. And so like it was really, really stressful for me. And this friend, which I have a feeling it's the same friend that you ended up having to block. But so this friend was very pushy and forceful, and she insisted that I go to your house and check on you, and that I had to drop everything that I was doing and try to get you help. And I'm like, dude, I'm only here for like a hot minute, and I've got my own things I'm trying to do. But I still did it. We went out to the Buddha Garden together. I still got together with you. I still did my best to help you. We went out to the reservation, which we went out and we drove through the place that you currently live right now. And you said that you felt a strong spiritual connection to that place, that specific place.
And now I live here. What are the odds?
And now you live there. So that right there, honey, is like, that's like law of attraction right there. It really, surely, certainly is. You believed with all your heart that night we drove out there that you were going to live right there. This is where I need to be. And you said that. You said, this is where I need to be. And there you are. And I'm so super proud of
synchronicity
you
is
for
definitely
accomplishing that. For sure, dude. So, okay. So then, nobody was able to really help. I did what I could, but then it like escalated quickly this time. And
well, there was some other things going on that we'll not discuss. We'll keep that laundry inside, but
for sure.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of stress factors happening, and then it could have gone differently, but it didn't. And it was really frustrating for me because I wanted so desperately to help you. I did put you in contact with our good friend James, the Reiki guy.
Yes.
And he was like one of the very few people on the planet that didn't think I was a lunatic when I described what was going on, and I asked him if he knew about this and these like spiritual awakenings and stuff like that. See?
And now I'm certified.
See? So I did do good.
I went in really skeptical though. Remember how skeptical I was? I was open-minded, but was like, I don't know about this stuff. And wow, all you got to do is keep an open mind and an open heart, and a whole new world could open up to you.
See, now all these years I've been thinking like I didn't do enough to help you during that time. But now that we're talking about it, I realize that I did. So, and those things that I introduced, that I did with you, have come to fruition in a wonderfully positive way. So that makes me feel so much better about the rest of the story. Gets worse, y'all. Okay. So none of us knew what to do to help her. And she was getting more and more agitated because the stress factors did not let up at all. It was just more stress piled on top of her. And she just was not getting the help or the support that she truly needed. And she needed like professional help. And she needed professional support.
Well, I needed moral support too.
Yes, for sure.
I tell you what, you want to find out who your true inner circle is, man, lose your mind and then reach out to them and see if you hear back from them or not ever again.
Right.
I'm talking people you've been friends with your whole life. Family.
Exactly. So long story
We
short,
contribute to the homeless crisis. We do in our own families.
Yep. All right. So anyway, long story short, the police were called.
Again,
and then this is where it gets really dicey.
I'm going to try to explain how this happened, because I'll just say there was a sheriff that came to drop off some paperwork. Okay. There was another very complicated, this was all because of this, what was going on. And one of the people who I had trusted and we had actually discussed if what happened in 2015 ever happened again, steps that should have been taken weren't, because of some other issues that I prefer not to go into right now. But it's complicated.
Extremely.
Sorry,
it's heavy, dude.
Oh,
it's
squirrel.
All right. It's heavy.
Oh, look. Okay, where was I? I'm sorry.
The sheriff came to give you some paperwork.
To drop off some paperwork. And I have video of this encounter, if anyone's interested, in how actual events and police reports don't always match up. And also how actual events, police reports, and news reports don't always line up either. But, sorry, I'm disappointed. I studied journalism in school. I'm really disappointed in a whole bunch of yous. Anyhow, you gotta hunt for truth and then hope it's, you know, hope it's the truth.
Okay.
Journalism
Sheriff
used to be
comes by.
considered the fourth branch. Did you know that? They used to actually be considered the fourth branch because we trusted them to hold the other three branches' feet to the fire and keep them honest.
Right.
I don't trust them to do that anymore, do you?
Very few.
So anyhow, some things. Okay, so homie, sorry. The deputy shows up and is calling me by the wrong name. I'm in an altered state already because of the other stuff that's going on and stuff. And threats were made. Court system was misused. People you depended on let you down. You end up in a system. And anyhow, remember how I mentioned earlier the type of PTSD I have, especially if I'm in an altered state like that, apparently, as I'm still learning. Like I said, this is all a new discovery for me, still fresh. Like I've done so much research over the last 5 years trying to understand every aspect of what's been happening to me. I should have a master's in something by now. But
yeah, but you got to pay for it, you know.
Right? Yeah, you got to pay for that stuff. Yeah.
The piece of paper that shows that you're educated. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I digress.
If I could afford to, I would. But anyway, Who can afford any more debt right now? Other just a propaganda wing for the Republican and Democratic Party. Well, two wings, same bird, right?
Yep. For sure.
So, safe to say I'm still an independent. I am left-leaning independent, but basically I just believe don't be an asshole, and maybe you should try to care a little bit more about, just try to care a little bit more, period. Shit, did it again. I saw a squirrel. There's a bunch of squirrels outside, you guys. A bunch.
So, okay, everybody stop doing comments for a minute so we can focus, because this, okay, so Sheriff shows up.
Yes, thank you.
And you
He's
said
calling
that
me by the wrong name. Are you Kathleen?
Yes.
No. No, I'm not Kathleen. I'm Calleen. My throat hurts. He asked me two or three times if I was Kathleen. No. I don't know. I don't know if I really want to relive the entire incident right now. I could, but I've also got video and maybe another time. But
okay, that's fine.
I'm just.
So it basically, I can sum it up. It basically
he laid his hands on me, and remember I said you go into, when you're already in what they call the stress-induced psychosis state, right? You're in a primal state. You're in a, it's a thing. Apparently, like I said, I'm learning all of this still. That's why this is called complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It's not. There's no magic pill. There's no easy fix. Lots and lots and lots of work. Lots of therapy. And tolerance from the community would be helpful. But there's a lot of trauma out there, and some people just have maxed out. I'm one of them.
Yeah. And then, so then that will just move along past that part, and then.
So he laid his hands on me. I fought back. He pushed me hard, and of course this chunk of video where that all happened just conveniently was went dark on the video. You see up to that point, and then again after that. But the actual what could actually help me prove that I didn't assault him, I just started flailing because some dude fucking pushed me hard. And I've had enough of men laying their hands on me without my permission. For one lifetime, thank you very much. In no way is anyone else entitled to touch another person without their express consent.
It's okay, honey.
Enough is enough. Man, I got a thing or two to say about the Me Too movement. Not just what I've happened to me, but what I've witnessed. And the indifference. It's not a rite of passage, yo. It's not a rite of passage.
Yeah.
It's wrong. The rape culture almost made me not bring my little girl into this world. She celebrated her 7th birthday Friday, the day before Independence Day. Yesterday, the day I did not feel like celebrating much. And today, the day after. bearing my soul to I don't know who out there, but you, sister, and other sisters and brothers like you that just had enough of broken people breaking up more people. Supremacy of any variety. Racist? Screw y'all, man. And I had my DNA work done. Screw you. I will never side with white supremacists on the side of a race war. And I know a lot of other people like me who feel the same. So think hard. Are you really going to know whose loyalties lie where when it comes to protecting the future for our children? We can be creative, us mamas, especially those of us who almost didn't bring a miracle into this world because of one too many fucking Me Too's. And the hostile, treacherous atmosphere. We break people and then we abandon them and throw them away. We have leaders who consider lives as acceptable collateral damage. This isn't a game of Risk. It's not Monopoly. It's sure as fuck not Monopolisk. Sorry, guys. I've had it with all these contradictions. And I'm affected by all of the systemic bullshit. And I love people who are affected by it. I have a family member who I haven't seen in years, who my mom would love to see. And he's brown skinned. My mom and her first husband adopted him, and, get the book. His entire adult life has been stolen from him as a result of Me Too and systemic abuse. And how most addictive behavior is rooted in some form of trauma, especially childhood trauma. They're not chasing highs, they're escaping reality. Because it hurts. And what really hurts is how many other people are so okay with it. I can't help but wonder, even like
therapy should just be a part of. Yeah, good. I find it to be.
Y'all can send me the bill later, okay?
Ariel says you're not alone.
I know I'm not alone, and that's why I'm so frustrated. So angry.
A lot of people are sick of this nonsense.
And we've got to enough. We need to have a serious conversation. I would love an opportunity to have a serious conversation with the leaders of this country right now, with the leaders of Montana for sure, because we should talk. And
they just don't see us, though.
Oh, they see us, and they exert a good deal of energy keeping us quiet and silencing us in various ways.
I see. Right.
We've seen it. We've all seen it. A lot of, if you're an activist, especially a vocal activist who's not afraid to remind people who it is they're supposed to be working for, in a respectful way, but still enough, y'all are so out of touch with the people, the divide and conquer regime. Good job, y'all, because now we are doing your job for you. So good job. But how many mamas out there have kids that have had to help them work through some stuff, right? So why don't we all just go ahead and do that on a bigger scale? But I'm saying organize, because there's so many different groups who ultimately have the same goal. So I have some ideas I want to share with you guys, but I'm having trouble getting heard. My pages are heavily censored. I mean, look at the name of them. You know, Team Rev, Resist, Evolve, Vindicate. You know, yeah, okay. Was it one of my friends shared a thing that said, if you're not on at least one watch list, you should be ashamed of yourself. Especially if you're an activist, right? But, you know, and I do what I can because I am a shut-in. So being in large groups of people, like I was a shut-in before COVID started, y'all. So this, if y'all need any advice on how to deal with isolation, I can help. But having Netflix helps. Living in nature helps. But there, I did it again. Squirrels got inside.
I think
Well, also, that is the one downside to what does help with the PTSD. It does make me a little squirrely. But it helps with...
There are times where I feel like we're activists, you know, we are very vocal about our feelings, about the way things are across the board. I would say that we are both warrior women in our own rights, you know, and we are most certainly survivors. So, like, but then even with all of that, like, I still feel totally powerless against the government, and then just like the massiveness of like the Trump derangement syndrome, and the racism and the hate and the division, and the oppression, and the how the government just, it's just awful, and then the police brutality, and then just everything. Like, it's too much. It's so much that I feel like I can't do anything.
Well, and you know,
because it's just too much.
You know the definition of gaslighting, right? I wish I had a way to pull it up for y'all, for those who aren't familiar with the term gaslighting. But y'all, we are straight up in an abusive situation, relationship with our government. They gaslight us. They look at all this. Look at my page. I posted stuff. But Team Rev. But if you can keep people destabilized, they can't rise up against you, and they become dependent upon you. Right? What is it they say? Right. Don't focus on who's suffering from the problem. Focus on who is benefiting from these problems. You know. Right. Ubuntu, right?
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is that, like, even like with all the voter suppression, and like voting for the lesser of two evils, and third party is a wasted vote. I know. And all of that, right? So you hear this all the time. So then it's no wonder that millions of people don't vote, because they feel like their vote doesn't matter. It does feel...
Uh-oh, where'd it go? What happened? Froze. What happened? Are we still rolling? Oh, wait. What's that? Holy smokes. Hey, are you guys, am I still on? Can you see me? I just found your comments. Ariel? Oh, so we just lost Annette. Hopefully she can get back in okay. Oh, shoot. I haven't had an opportunity to read any of these comments. Shoot. And you know what? Those damn squirrels. Hi, Mom. Hopefully she can get back in. Okay, well, oh, oh, they lost power. Uh-oh. I'm gonna ask her if she can link in through her phone. Yes, we're still on. Okay. And I have no idea how to end it or anything like that. Or I wanted yeah, accidents happen. um, okay, so this is StreamYard. She can't host it from her phone. Shoot. Well, does anyone have any questions for me? I could scroll through the comments. I've never done this before, so. Um, sorry, I got a little impassioned. Uh, so, okay, I'm going to start up at the top. Okay, so revolutionary thinking should be interesting. Esoteric, not really, more like psychological. Name's familiar, though. Thank you, Ariel. Hi, Mom. Brian, Arizona Gang Gang. Hi, Brian, if you're still here. We are a little broken, but fixable, I think. As long as we can focus on solutions, healing. So yes, sick, we don't need sickos in positions of authority. Everyone in position of authority needs to be audited if they have empathy. Amen. Empathy should be a prerequisite, you would think. But right now, it's a whole lot of narcissistic, sociopathic. I'd rather have other people who've been affected and are on the mend than some of these douchebags we've got right now. Almost all conservatives are directly guilty or apathetic to the situation, and not enough liberals truly understand or are too lazy to do something about it. You know what I like about my name? It literally translates to the girl. I kind of like that anonymity of that because I freaking hate labels. They're divisive. Look at um Mom, you don't have to watch if it bothers you. Thank you for supporting. Exactly, not burn it to the ground route. We need to fix it route, yes. And there's so many people out there with some amazing ideas and in the works or trying to get in the works. And we're just also scattered. If we can like do a united waveform of but for all the different activist groups that are ultimately we share the same common goals. Um, a lot of people who are in positions that are solely there to help people are the same ones who are hurting the most people. It's a clownocracy. I can't pronounce that. Sometimes clown world. The world becomes upside down and inside out. Time to take out the trash. Amen. Journalists are just as in bed with powerful people. Now they are just a propaganda wing for both parties. Yeah. What is it? Something like all the major news outlets are actually owned by maybe 6 or 7 entities worldwide. Um, you know, just keep talking. Ray is coming to flip the breaker. Oh, good. She might come back soon. Yay. Okay. Now they're just, yeah. What happened to journalistic integrity and journalistic code of ethics? There's at least one of you had no business offering a workshop on that. I just want solutions left and right. You know what? Left, right. How about we just give a damn about people who are suffering? There's plenty of blame to go around. All of us. Grab a mirror. We've all contributed to it at some point, at some time. Unless you are an actual saint. Anyway, we need to stop perpetuating all these cycles of abuse. Just want solutions. Not alone. I know I'm not alone. I know it. A lot of people are sick of the nonsense. The worst people sometimes are the ones who say, just get over it. Yeah. And it could be worse. Well, true, it could be worse. Definitely be better. I ask, why aren't you trying to understand it? And it could be better. Amen, Ariel. You sound like we could be friends. People can be such assholes. Sad, true story. That's why the freedom dividend is so dangerous, because then we don't have to jump through their stupid hoops. Well, yeah. Control the resources and essentially control the people, right? Control access to education. Welcome to 1984. The ones with amazing ideas are being ignored. We can't let them ignore us anymore. We have to be so loud that it's impossible for them to turn us down. Yeah. All these different movements. I mean, I've watched them get co-opted and by the very entities that essentially we're fighting against. Oh yeah, yeah. That's why education is so expensive, and I tell my daughter all the time that our books are worth more than gold because of the knowledge that's contained within them. You know, it's priceless. Um, yeah, like what's up with Common Core? I got to tell y'all. I don't know if you have kids, but my daughter was just completing first grade this year, and I was in tears more than once trying to figure out this Common Core stuff because we didn't grow up with that. We I don't know, our brains worked how they worked. It seems like they're trying to program all the brains to work a certain way, and I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I don't know. Our computer won't turn back on now. She's gonna send Ariel the link so you can take over. Oh, cool. Hey, Ariel, you want to take over? Her computer may have blown. Oh, no. He's been on many times. She trusts you. What do you think, Ariel? You want to come on, or should I just go ahead and call it? We've been doing this for a minute. Hi. Yeah, actually, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it. We can maybe we can get together. She can put you in on that group, and we can plan a little more. Talk about some of the solution ideas and the different organizations that are actively they need backup, you know, and um, really talk about the importance too of down ticket uh, support right now. Everyone's so focused on that big one that we got some slime balls moving in at the grassroots level. So you really need to, we all need to be paying attention to what's going on. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and maybe I'll see you guys again. I'm gonna go ahead and try to figure out how to turn this off. Enjoy your Sunday.